Let's talk about sex, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about sex. This is Quyn Lê at Quyn Lê Therapy, empowering you to be your best self and to live a great life. Today, I'm very excited to have a juicy conversation with Dr. Renee Longto. Dr. Renee Longto is a sexologist, a sex coach, and she was initially trained in kinesiology. Then she got her doctorate degree in human sexuality all the way in San Francisco. And Dr. Renee believes that sex can be fun for both partners in any relationship. So to learn more about Dr. Renee, visit drsexology.com. So welcome, Dr. Renee. I haven't seen you for 6 years.
I know, it's been a long time. Thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. And the last time we interviewed for my radio show, and I had a lot of fun with you. So hopefully we can recreate that.
Hopefully.
Because today we're going to talk about women and sexuality and have to have fun in the bedroom for women again, especially in long-term relationships. But just to start, can you tell us a little bit what made you interested in sex and sexuality?
Well, I've always been interested in the human body. So I wanted to make sure that I understood everything that I was capable of doing. And then from a very young age, I was very interested in my own sexuality, had a lot of questions. I gave myself permission to go and explore. And I was born in Montreal, so the first 20 some odd years of my life, I was in a place that was very open-minded. And then I moved to Vancouver, where I saw a very big difference in how women approach their sexuality. So I really wanted to share my own personal experience, the knowledge that I acquired from my education. And I wanted to go and give a different perspective to women in Vancouver in their practice, and then in their practice of sexuality. And then my own practice as a sexologist grew outside of Vancouver with webcam meetings. So
Yeah. And I guess just out of curiosity, lots of babies being created during COVID time, isn't it?
No, unfortunately,
No?
Society's libido has died during COVID. It has been extremely hard on couples, and people have just put their sexuality on the back burner for many different reasons. I believe that, first of all, the closeness and not being able to escape, not having, like going to bars and flirting with strangers, like just a look in a bus when you're going to work can ignite your sexuality. Now everybody was staying inside. Fear, stress levels have increased. That means cortisol level have increased in people, and higher cortisol usually decreases sexuality and all the sex hormones in your body. So COVID has been not the time to make babies, unfortunately.
You know, a woman would tell me, in the beginning of our relationship, I had great sex drive. We had lots of sex. And now I have no interest. My sex drive is very low. So what's going on for women in long-term relationships?
Well, when you want something, you put a lot of energy behind it to go and get it, to go acquire your want. Once you have your want, you stop putting it in focus, you put it behind you, and then you start looking for something that you want to have. So once you have something, the flame dies because you take it for granted. You don't pay attention to it. You let yourself go, and basically nobody makes an effort. So the biggest problem is that the woman will try to do everything in her power to go and get the guy to say, will you marry me? They're going to plan a super long wedding. And once they're married, they have the ring on their finger. They have everything they want, and now they let go. So like they gain weight, they don't care about their appearance. They walk home, they go into their sweatpants. They don't need to try and cajole the partner into the bedroom, you know, because he already said, do you want to marry me? So there's a lot of marriage, I believe, has made us very complacent in our keeping our relationships alive.
So what you're saying is the desire, is the want that can create the sex drive and the sexual interest. How much does hormones and those physical changes play a role as well?
So hormones are going to be changing your entire life. So when you're born, you have a big growth spurts, and we don't talk about those hormones really, where we see like the development of the child, and we applaud at every place. Then you become a teenager and everything grows, and you don't know how to fit in society. You don't know how to fit in your own clothes. You don't know how to fit into your new role in of womanhood, you know, and the hormones are very chaotic in your body, and you become very sexual. But society and religion tells you, mostly for a girl, that a good girl should not be feeling that sexual. So girls, when they're teenagers, they learn to turn down their sexual selves. That women have really learned to downplay their sexual urges from a very young age. And after that, you get pregnant. You know, like fast forward a few relationship, and now you're married supposedly, and you have a child, and all of those hormones, they go out of balance, and it's very chaotic again. And now you're supposed to become a mother. So all of your role is supposed to be focused on your child instead of on your partner, because your child needs you, you know. And a lot of the time, the father does not know how to be part of the mother and child bond. So the father is always left on the outside, and it's kind of separating the lovers that they used to be as soon as they become parents. And then the women will hit menopause around 50, 55 years of age. And here again, like the loss of hormones, it's going to be something that you're going to have to adapt. But sexuality, like a sexual self, exist from day one until you die. It's just at a different intensity, different direction, different reasons for being sexual at different ages throughout your life journey.
Once a woman in a relationship, and then there's career, there's children, there's house chores, there's in-laws, Often sex is on the back burner for a lot of women. Can you help us women understand why is it that sex should be important as a part of life, part of well-being?
Yes, definitely. If you look at human needs, you need to have food, you need to have warmth, and a roof over your head in order to be able to grow properly. Relationships, sexual relationships, are part of the essential needs that people need. So one of the things, touch releases oxytocin in your body, and it helps you bond with other people. You have a sense of well-being, you have a sense of belonging, like not only in society, but with somebody that looks at you and makes you feel worthwhile. Because sometimes it's difficult from, it's okay to have self-worth, but if you never have anybody to come and tell you you are beautiful, or you are loved, or you are needed, then sometimes you start to doubt if you're really worth it, you know? So to have somebody in your life that comes and wants to be close to you, that will help how you will fit, how you will behave as a human being in society. So sex is important for many, you know, like if you look at all of your systems in your body, sex is definitely something that works your heart, that works your lungs, that works your muscle, that works your hormone system. It works everything in your body so that you use it and then you interact with your partner, you feel better in society. It's just a normal part of a good human being.
Yeah, to me, I think of it as one of the important nutrients, right? Or a type of food that you need to have that to nourish your body. But in this case, to even nourish your spirit and your mind as well.
Definitely. Mental health is definitely associated with a good sex life.
I'm gonna be like some of the women. These are some of the things I would hear the complaints about. Okay,
Go for it.
so oh my God, like after birth, my boobs are sagging. If I have big boobs, or my boobs are shrinking, like so small. Like I don't even want my husband to touch me.
I see a lot of women that right after they have a baby, they focus solely on the baby, and the baby always needs to be carried. You're breastfeeding. It's always in your own personal space. You have a lot of skin to skin contact that you have with your baby. Therefore, the mother has a lot of, like, you remember the touch that I said that releases oxytocin and that creates bonding between two individuals. With the mother and the child, there's that bonding is very strong because they spend a lot of time close together and touching. By the time the father comes back from work, the mother has already been what I called, she's in the touched out mode. She's had enough touch for the day, so she does not need to go and be touched by her husband. And that makes him feels like he's being abandoned. And it makes her feels like she has another chore to do, to take care of, when he's saying, yes, but what about me? We don't have sex anymore. We don't touch anymore. So touching for a mother by her husband when there's a young child in the house becomes a chore for her and becomes something that he's craving more and more. And unfortunately, what happens is if the husband does not get enough time with his partner, most of the time they go and try and find touch somewhere else. So it's very important. It's not that you have to focus on the chores that you have to do, but it's more like, don't forget about your partner that is also has needs of intimacy. So maybe touch the baby less, or make sure that the father gets some time with the baby and gets some of his touch time with the child, and it's not just the mother taking care of the child. So I think more balanced roles in the house is important. You also mentioned body appearance. Body appearance is not just it's not just boobs.
Yeah, there's like, my stomach is bigger, I have stretch marks, I don't feel good about my body.
Of course, but going through childbirth, I find it's part of the history of your body and what your body went through. And instead of seeing it, oh, it's not perfect, like, I don't know, Charlize Theron, maybe you have to look at it in a different way, where you say, this is all the mileage that I have done, and I have this relationship with me. I have made a child. So instead of looking at it with the eyes of perfection, you have to look at it with the eyes of experience. And I think you're not supposed to be living in the body of an 18-year-old for your entire life. And we as a society have to accept aging, and aging gracefully, the best way we can, because right now we're failing as a society on all of the pressure that we put on people's appearance. But having said that, you have to learn to be happy with your body, but you also must not get lazy on your body. It's important to eat well. It's important to exercise. It's important to sleep well. There's no magic pill that you can take and look good and say, oh, look, my stomach is now gone. People are looking too much to go towards fat reduction therapies that they can have, or everything. It's there to help, no problem. But you still have to take care of your bodies. We take care of our teeth on a daily basis. We brush our teeth, we floss. You should also exercise. You should also be careful what you eat and what you put in your body.
And to me, it's a form of self-care and self-love, right? What
100%.
you do for your body, what you do for your mind. When you do that, you also show your children how to respect their bodies, how to take care of their bodies as well. It's not just, oh, I do these things so that I look good for my husband.
Eat properly. It takes a lot of work, but the rewards are there. People want to live until they're 100 years old, but they forget that if they don't take care of their body, the last 30 years of their life is not going to be good quality life. You're going to have to do the work. And after that, once you've done the work, pat yourself on the back, look at yourself in the mirror and be happy with the work that you've done. That's going to increase your self-esteem. And then instead of going, I don't want to be naked in front of my husband, you're going to turn it around and you're going to go, hey, look, I've worked hard to achieve this. I used to be like, I don't know, size extra large. And now like I fit in size large. I see the progression of the work that I've done on my body.
But if he loves me, he should not care about how I look. He should just accept me for who I am.
True, but if you have to accept yourself as well. Yeah. So like your partner is going to want to be with you, and you have to show your partner, do exercise with your partner, eat well together. So your partner is going to be a team player on your road to healthier bodies. And your partner will take you for granted if you take yourself for granted as well.
Yeah, because you could see someone, even slightly bigger, but if she's happy with herself, she's really into sex and that, then they can have great sexual connection together.
Totally. I've seen women like that who don't have the perfect body, but they are they look sexual. They look like they assume their sexuality,
They have like a sexual aura.
They have a sexual aura. Yeah. It's a very good term, actually. But they're confident. They assume who they are. They're proud of who they are, and they present it on a platter. And they're like, "This is who I am." And it's beautiful to see women that are like that. So like confidence does not it's funny because some of the supermodels that everybody think they're absolutely gorgeous don't have self-confidence. They're not happy inside of their body. I think that you have to go and set some realistic goals, and then it's easier for you to be happy with where you're at in your journey to having a body that you're happy with.
This is something I often hear a lot as a therapist. Oh my goodness, like the end of the day, I'm so freaking tired. He hasn't even helped me take out the garbage. We've been fighting. He doesn't talk to me. We don't even connect on an emotional level. How does he even expect to have sex with me? So for some people, sex becomes very loaded with a lot of things.
So in a long-term relationship, when you start living with somebody, you also become a partner inside of the household. So, and women have had the short end of the stick for a very long time. So we started working as equals in the workspace. We're getting less pay for the same job, but we come home and then the chores most of the time have not been divided equally. So it's up to the two of you. It's usually better to, before you move in with a person, to talk about the division of the household chores. It's important that there's not too much policing on it. So if you do the dishes better, but you're tired of doing the dishes and it becomes his job, make sure that you don't pass behind and go, yeah, it's not done the way I would have done it. So if it's supposed to be his job, don't go and run after the other person, because then they're going to go, if you're not happy, why don't you just do it? Sex is something that you need to put into your calendar if it's difficult for you guys to reach out, because some people always put it on the back burner and it's the last thing that they want to do in their head because they're very responsible adults, or it's just, you know, they lost touch with their sexual self. Therefore, it's better to be in the rear view mirror. They're in front of you, always constantly reminding you that you're not having it. So I think both of you need to agree on a time and a place to meet. Disconnect your phone. Make sure that you do your best to be there and be present. Don't fall asleep on your partner if you know, like if you're tired, go outside of the house regardless. Like in terms like go for a walk, wake up. The fresh air is going to do you some good. Come back and then spend time together. Try to keep it fresh. People are tired of the same routine all the time. Even though I married the meal that I wanted to eat the most, like if sushi is your favorite food, sushi every single night gets boring very fast. So make sure you change position, you change times, you change location, you change how you do it. Sex should not always be the same dance that you do, and it starts with the same spin. You know, some people are so tired. Like even initiating sex, people go like, hey, you feel like having sex? You know, like, and they go directly for your breast. They go directly for your genitals. I'm like, is that how you're starting? Is that how you're sweeping me off of my feet? People forget that at the beginning when they were dating, they would take time, like they would take the entire week to think about what they would wear. They would go to the gym. They would smell nice. They would shave the day of. They would think about it for 1 week. Their heads would be bursting with anticipation. The erotic thoughts that they had in their head would have, like, it climbed for a week. And now we're like, hey, you wanna? That's not very sexy.
So for some women whose sex has been kind of like sleeping, you know, how would they reawaken that spark within themselves?
You have to give yourself permission, number one, to be sexual. So if you're there doing the work for everybody else, you're the best employee, you're the best partner, the best mother, the best daughter, the best everything, and you forget about yourself, you need to start dating yourself. And what I tell people, I go, we're always rushing to go from home to work to the daycare. We're never really enjoying being inside of our bodies. We have 5 senses. We need to stop and to really use every single one of them. When you're walking and you see something that's beautiful, take the time to slow down, look at the beauty of the world that's around you. If you smell something that's nice, spring was there, like summer with all of the flowers, take the time to smell the roses. I know it sounds completely ridiculous because we've heard that since we're young kids, but in our society, we have learned to filter out every single one of our senses. We don't smell, we don't look, we don't see people that we know because we're too focused on going to work. We're too focused I don't have time to do this right now. We take the time to make sure that you fall into your body. If something that you touch feels good, analyze the touch. If you have music that you like, take the time to turn the radio up and filter out everything else and just enjoy that music that's making you feel like good inside of you. So all of those senses, instead of like filtering them out so that your brain can answer more emails or take another phone call, remove those filters and start sensing again. And once you start feeling in your body, your sensuality is going to increase, because your senses is part of your sensuality. Once you are within all of your sensuality, it's easy to turn it into a sexual encounter with your partner. But before you get to a sexual encounter with your partner, you should be sexual with yourself. So even though you have a partner, it's important to masturbate. It's important to touch your body and to make sure that you understand what turns you on, what turns you off, what's your rhythm of being turned on. And because everybody has a response cycle to their sexuality, to how they climb. Once you learn that, you can tell or guide your partner when they come close to you. You know how to bring it to the next level. So it's not your partner's responsibility to turn you on. It's your responsibility.
Yeah, and often we associate masturbation more for men, right?
Well, I don't.
Right? But some women, we associate masturbation. That's like horny men would do.
I know. So that brings me back to the beginning of the conversation when I said, you remember the little girls that I said, good little girls don't do that. So when we catch a little boy masturbating, we go, oh, he's a boy, and boys will be boys. When we catch a little girl masturbating, we say, no, don't do that. This is not proper. So we have to change our language from the beginning with our children and make sure that we give them equal rights to be sexual beings and that boys will be boys. No, there's a place. If you want to masturbate, it makes your body feel good, no problem. But you do it in the privacy of your bedroom. And you say the same message to your daughters. So you don't make a difference in between a little boy and a little girl. Remove the shame from girl and sexuality.
So basically you're saying at first get to know your senses, pay attention to your senses, get to know your body, not necessarily go straight to the masturbation and then after that really let go of the shame about masturbation and self-pleasuring. And can you talk about, soft porn for women? What's that? Can you comment on that?
Everybody has different ways of being turned on. Some people will like to hear people in being in a sexual state. So if some people don't like watching porn, some people like hearing porn. Some people like watching it, but they can't hear it because they go, she sounds too fake or whatever. So go and figure out if you like it or not. If you don't like it, try different types of porn. Women usually have a tendency to like porn that is softer porn, where there's romance that's developing. So women like before, like, it's not just sex. They like to have the relationship that grows. If you look at fantasies, women's top fantasy, and not everybody fits in there, so but if you look at the stats that are out there, number one fantasy for women is to be taken by force. For a man is to have multiple partners, so threesomes and stuff like that. So fantasies are important to go and explore, because in order for your body to be sexual, it starts with your brain. So once you have desire in your brain, when you're exploring a fantasy, regardless if you want the fantasy to happen or not, go with the fantasy, because this is where the spark ignites. And when this ignites, your body will warm up. And then it's easier to go and start touching yourself.
And I wonder if us women also associate porn with, again, right, horny men addicted to sex.
There's lots of porn. The majority of porn out there is created by men for men. But there are some women porn producers that produce porn that is softer, more of a storyline, more gentle scene, and it's not all the anal sex, ejaculation,
hardcore porn.
Yeah, exactly. It's not all of the stuff that some women would look at and go like, oh my God, there's no ways I want to do that.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, be selective, because if you're not into sex and then you see that kind of porn, it makes you even more repulsive, right?
Exactly. So go and find the type of porn that is out there for you.
And some people, it might be actually reading erotic stories too, right?
Yes, there's a lot of erotica that's out there. To the point that I was saying about fantasies earlier, that women, like number one fantasy for women is to be taken by force. If you look at most of the Harlequin novels that were written, they were all, like women that were like taken by force, saved. No, yes, I want him. No, not like this. Yes, it's like, oh my goodness. But there's a lot of erotica that's a little bit more graphic than those Harlequin.
Okay. So now let's talk about fun with the two people together, or however how many people. What are some things that you can suggest for women to do to have fun?
So when, let's say you have zero imagination and you don't know where to start, I would recommend to go. There are tons of, if you go into a sex store, or if you're too shy to go into a sex store, go onto Amazon or a place where you can buy sex cards. You can play a game of truth or dare with your partner, and you can turn one card per week or one card every 2 days. And you can say, tonight, we're going to try this card. So instead of you thinking, oh, I cannot ask this of my partner because he's going to think that there's something wrong with me, or that I'm too like it's too risque, blame it on the card. Flip the card and say, tonight, you're going to blindfold me. Or tonight, I'm going to massage you. Or tonight, you're going to tickle me with a feather all over my body to find my erogenous zones. Or tonight, you're going to paint a heart with melted chocolate on my stomach, and then you're going to lick it off. Turn that card and do the activity that the card tells you to do. This way, it's easy to reconnect with your partner, do different activities that you had never thought of including into your sexual play with your partner. It can be something that doesn't have to do with anything about penetration, so you can stop there, or it can open the door to start sexual play. Just give you different things to try and to say, do I like this? Do I want to change it? And I would prefer it if it was done like this. And then at least it gave you somewhere to start. And after that, you can build your own deck of cards, and then you can say, these are the cards that we need to play minimum once a year, each card once a year, or something like that.
That's a great idea. I haven't heard of that. Okay, what are other ways?
I find that people think about having sex after 8 o'clock at night, when everything is done in the house. I believe that sex should start when you wake up in the morning. So think about what you're going to do in the evening when it's 8 o'clock. So to start,
I think my husband would like you for that one.
well, I think it's really important. So it creates anticipation. It creates, like you will save some energy because you've been thinking about it. Your day is not finished at 8. Your day is finished after you've had intimate time with your partner. It makes you start sending texts. You can take a sexy picture and go, I can't wait until I see you tonight because then I have some plans for you. So you create some anticipation for your partner. You start talking about it. You open the conversation to what's going to happen. By the time it happens, now you're starting to flirt already. Instead of being strangers in the house, you start, as soon as your partner arrives from home, you drop what you're doing and you go, hi, how was your day? I haven't seen you. I've been looking forward to seeing you all day. It's going to be fun. So now you become like, you're like a team player now.
Or you do dishes and then tonight we can have sex. Right, well, that's the condition.
That's a very good foreplay, I must admit. So all of those things make you look forward to it instead of that's the last thing on your list and you're like, oh, I forgot about it because I put it in my rearview mirror instead of in front of me.
Yeah. So being proactive, building it up, having anticipation, kind of like a sex date.
Yes. Sex dates are important. You can make time in your house. During the week, if you don't have time for it, you can still reserve some time to talk about sex. So it doesn't necessarily have to lead to sex, but it's something that you want to be inside of your partner's head, and you can have a list of questions. What's the one fantasy that if everything could go well between the two of us, that we would do sexually together? So you can just start talking about it. You don't have to do it, but just start to understand what's inside of your partner's head. And instead of going, you're disgusting to think like this. It's not a place to judge.
Or does it mean you're thinking about someone else? Because I'm not blonde, I'm not whatever. I don't do that with you. So you must be thinking about someone else.
But it's okay to think about having sex with other people. The person would be lying if they would say they've never seen somebody else since they've been with you, that they said, wow, that person is good looking. In my head, it's in your head. You're allowed to think or to have desires. Cheating is not when it's in your head. Cheating is a behavior. It's not a thought process. So I think it's very important to separate that. The women that think, you're not allowed to look at any woman, you're not allowed to think about anybody else. It's like, okay, you don't do it. You've never looked at another man thinking, wow, he's good looking.
Yeah, and I think that when the two people can talk openly without reacting, right? Then you can channel the fantasies with each other, right? When there's no reaction, these are just my fantasies.
Exactly. So removing shame and guilt and accusation from the conversation, trying to understand your partner. Like this is the person that you're supposed to know the most. And now, like when they open up and they become vulnerable in front of you and they tell you their innermost secrets, what they think about, and they don't share that with anybody else, you're going to go and you're going to say, you're disgusting for thinking that. You're closing the door to the conversation. And also you're asking for the other person to behave the same way towards you when you behave like that. So it's important to create a safe space where the person can be vulnerable when they open up to their innermost thoughts, wants, and needs to you as the person that's supposed to be there to listen. to that, and to maybe go and explore down that road. If you keep the doors closed, you will never try new things in your relationship. So discussing it creates a place where you can talk about it. So you have the information. And if you have the information, you can do something about it. The first step is to talk.
Yes. And to be able to listen non-judgmentally. Yes. Yeah.
And if you have judgment, try to analyze where that judgment is coming from. You know, like if your partner says, I watched a film where two guys were kissing and it turned me on, and I don't understand why, because like I prefer women and stuff like that. How do you think, how does that make you feel? You know, talk about, have you ever kissed, you know, like if your husband said, have you ever kissed another woman? Would you kiss another woman? What's your thought process on homosexuality and stuff like that? And why do you have strong emotions for it or against it? Where does that come from? Is that your family giving you your judgment? Or is it society giving you those judgments? Like, where is it coming from? If I would, if it turns me on to see two women kissing, but my body reacts to it, but my head says, oh, I would never do that, I find it disgusting, then it's like, who gave you that judgment? Is it, you know, like it's important to analyze where your emotions towards sexuality comes from.
Thank you so much. This has been great, and I really always enjoy talking with you. And yeah, thank you very much.
Well, thanks for having me. It's been really fun.
Let's talk about sex.